I got to say, I'm really glad that we didn't invest a lot of time into Kevin Durant topics over the last month and a half, 2 months, because this feels like a win, as we found out today that Kevin Durant is officially going to be staying with the Brooklyn Nets in the 2022-2023 season. Met with Joe Tsai, met with Steve Nash, met with the general manager, Sean Marks, and it's official. Again, he will be a Brooklyn Net this coming season. They agreed that he will agree to his 4-year contract that he signed last year. So that's what I got out of it, that they agreed that, yes, this binding contract you signed, we will actually fulfill it. Just the irony of this whole situation, something you actually put your signature on doesn't really mean anything in the NBA regardless. I mean, we refrained, but I should say we did technically record a video literally the day before that didn't age well because Kevin Durant decided to change the news cycle here on a Tuesday. What do you think of this situation? I mentioned in this video, I got to say, I thought that he was going to be on their opening day roster, and I feel vindicated in saying that, as he won't be a Sun, he won't be a Heat.
You were correct. And let's just say, like, I know it's bad on that respect, and I released a podcast this morning talking about Kevin Durant, but here's the other part about this, is that the news that Kevin Durant was coming back broke at about 8 o'clock in the morning, West Coast time, which means in every major market along the West Coast of America, there were sports talk radio shows talking about yesterday's news of the Memphis Grizzlies getting involved and the possible destinations for a trade. So don't worry. Everyone got fooled by Kevin Durant. Some people even worse because they were live on radio when this news came out. So everyone got fooled by it this one day because nobody saw this coming.
I saw Bill Simmons literally put out there on the Ringer Twitter account, thanks for all the content over the last 2 months. Thanks for all the meaningless content over the last 2 months.
Yeah, let's go. Meaningless sports content to fill the void, because Kevin Durant wasn't willing to make it so ugly that he was going to hold out into training camp, which that's what you got to do.
It wasn't that my point, though, that I saw Kevin Durant and it didn't look at a player that would actually sit out games. I didn't think he was of Ben Simmons' character to actually miss meaningful games. I mean, sure, maybe he said, I have a back spasm, and maybe that's still on the table. I don't know. I just didn't see him doing that. I didn't see him making it that ugly, other than maybe a cryptic social media post. Maybe, like I said, maybe calling out like Sean Marks or Steve Nash in private, or maybe we got another Twitter burner account.
Juju, what part about Kevin Durant and social media screams cryptic to you? Kevin Durant just fights people in the comments section. Like, that's just Kevin Durant's thing, is lack of subtlety.
Only
on
after
social media.
he got outed, I should say.
Yeah,
only after he got outed with the Twitter account.
At what point, that was like 5 years ago now, at what point do we kind of move past the burner account thing and be like, Kevin Durant's just an internet troll now? He puts his name on shit now.
I would not be surprised if you told me a few more burners develop throughout the course of this season, especially if things get a little wonky with the Brooklyn Nets season. If we see a bench blow up between him and Steve Nash, I still think all that stuff is kind of still on the table.
Oh, yeah. No, Brooklyn can be had for a price. I think that that's very much in the possibility.
Oh, no. I'm not saying like a trade will develop over the course of the season. I'm saying that I just think that it could become just an ugly situation, because I don't know. How do you like go back into a workplace after you said, I want this dude fired, and just make it work?
No, probably not well. No,
I know we're talking about you have to be professionals. This happens. The news cycle comes and goes. But that was a very public report when it came out there for Steve Nash.
Of course, and you're only as good as your options. So I think some people who have other options in work, yeah, this is such a disrespect that they're not willing to come back to a situation. Depending on your options, you're willing to put up with more crap when you're in a work situation. And so, you know, Kevin Durant comes back. Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving still have all the power within the organization. This was the case even before they requested a trade. I think the Kevin Durant trade came about because of the fact that Brooklyn wasn't willing to sign Kyrie Irving to a long-term contract extension, and it felt like they were trying to reassert the power within the organization, the power that they gave all of to Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, and for a little bit James Harden, but specifically Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant had all the power. And I think that was what played out, where they went through that process, it didn't succeed, and they were going to go to another place for basketball reasons, not for power reasons, for basketball reasons. And none of the options Kevin Durant wanted actually worked out.
I'm seeing all these conspiracy theories today that the trade request was only to weaken their enemies, to have the Celtics publicly put out that Jaylen Brown was on the table, to have the Heat show their best package or the Suns show their best package. Maybe that's how the Nets get back on top, because, okay, coming back today, looking at the Nets, looking at their prospects for this upcoming season. Okay, so we got Kevin Durant, we have Kyrie Irving, and then, of course, coming back to them, maybe Ben Simmons. So maybe you have a big three out there. So the Nets should be a playoff team. I just don't know how much of a better team they are than the team that got swept out of the first round last year. I don't know if they're championship caliber in the Eastern Conference based off what I saw last season.
I think that, like, from a basketball standpoint, I don't know what's going to happen with Brooklyn, because I don't know who's going to be there. I don't know who's going to be playing games once the playoff rolls around, because it's crazy. But, like, on paper, definitely better than the Hawks, regardless of upgrades, definitely better than the Bulls, definitely better than Toronto, about as good as Philadelphia. Like, those are just kind of the teams. The category they're in is, like, there are 4 really good teams still in the East. It's Milwaukee, or I guess 5: Milwaukee, Boston, Miami, Brooklyn, and Philadelphia. And you slot them in however you slot them in. I just have no idea who's going to show up for Brooklyn. I don't know what their work dynamics are going to look like and how they come back from this situation.
So I think I remember kind of how more or less the season broke down for them last year. I believe they had a 1-3 record against the Heat. They had a 1-3 record against the Celtics, and they had a 1-3 record against the Bucks. But they had a 3-1 record against the 76ers. So your assertion that they are probably about as good as the 76ers probably is right. You mentioned their big three matching up against Embiid and Harden this coming season, or maybe that's just stylistically a good matchup for them, because the old phrase styles make fights. Maybe that's just one that they would wish if they landed the postseason. They probably wish they would probably just knock out Boston in the first round. That might have made their life a little bit easier. Albeit maybe the options are going against Milwaukee, or, well, at the time with Chris Middleton hurt. Sometimes you get luck into matchups, so that's maybe their opportunity to rise above in the Eastern Conference. They're going to get pieces back from injury. Joe Harris is going to be back for them, so that's going to help them on the wing. As long as everyone stays healthy, they should be a better team. But that is a big question mark for this Nets team, right? We have a lot of players who traditionally throughout their career have not stayed healthy, or stayed in one place, or kept it mentally together throughout the course of a season. Looking at you, Kyrie Irving.
Well, that's the point I'm thinking. It can't go much worse than last year, right? Like, Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving and Ben Simmons, as not together, like just as a total, played 80 games between the three of them the entire season last year. So it can't get much worse than last year in terms of not being available. Like, the vaccine mandates are lifted, so Kyrie Irving wins in the end. After everything that happened, Kyrie Irving wins, except he doesn't get a new contract. So
watch out, man. I hear monkeypox is in the water these days.
Kyrie Irving wins in the end, and Kevin Durant is going to come back. So, like, it can't be much worse than last year. But that's the same thing I said when I was breaking it down. It's like they're in that group of 5, and I have no idea who's going to be available. I have no idea who's going to be playing. I have no idea what's going to happen with that team. It's just, as long as they have those 3 pieces, they're a championship contender. That's a big ol' if.
They're a championship contender. I won't go as far as championship contender, but I can say that they can be in that group of second round. I would say that would be a solid floor to put them at.
Yeah, I could agree with you on that. I agree with you there.
I think part of the thing in the misevaluation, and it's kind of like, think of it in this way, it's kind of like college football preseason rankings. Last year, we had them as the championship favorite coming into the year, and then they showed that they were definitively not in that tier. So now we're trying to reevaluate them based on actually seeing the results of this team working together. Did they get dramatically better throughout the course of last year or the offseason? It all is going to boil down to really Ben Simmons. What is Ben Simmons after a year of not playing? That's going to be a big question mark for me, because if he's Ben Simmons from a few years ago, then that could, like you said, that could be a team that could elevate to a championship level. Albeit I've never seen Ben Simmons. I don't have a reference point of him being in a championship level too, being with the Philadelphia 76ers. But he can be part of that one potentially.
Oh.
Hey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm disrespecting the 7-foot Rondo.
I meant the Sixers, man. The Sixers were a Kawhi bounce away from going to the finals. The Sixers were the #1 seed in the Eastern Conference in 2021.
And
like
yet
the disrespect of the Sixers.
20 years since they've been to a conference finals.
Oh, you're correct. I'm just, the idea that they weren't close is just, it's brutal on Philadelphia. But to your point, yeah, no idea what's going to happen with Ben Simmons. No idea how many games Kyrie Irving's going to play, because Kyrie Irving just didn't want to work last year, which is fine. And it's all fun. It's all chaotic. And I have no reason to evaluate that a big three of Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Robert Williams is better than a big three of Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, and Ben Simmons. It's crazy to me that Brooklyn has all these moving pieces, and yet if they all play together, they're going to be so good. They're going to be so good and so fun. And, you said Ben Simmons is what it all comes down to. And, that's saying a lot about the availability of Kyrie Irving. And like, Kyrie Irving is going to be the person it all comes down to, which is crazy that they have all these moving pieces. And like I said, I have no idea what's going to happen to them next year. I'm going to need a 50 game sample size to figure it out, but it's crazy to think about that they're going to come back together after all this.
What's that phrase that Aaron Rodgers used a couple years ago? The Nets are a beautiful mystery. That's how I look at them coming into this year. Although I'll nix the beautiful. They're just a mystery to me. Anyway, guys, if you have an idea of what the Brooklyn Nets are going to be this year, go ahead and drop that below in the comments. What did you think of this whole finessing by Kevin Durant, withdrawing his trade request at the last minute? I'd like to hear your thoughts on that as well. Leave a like on this video, hit that subscribe button. From Juju Talk Sports and Kyle Ledbetter, stay safe, happy, and healthy. We'll see you next time.